I come here not as a partisan for this act. I think there are lots of problems with it. I'm not sure it's good policy. I'm not sure it's going to make the country any better. But I am quite sure that the health care mandate is constitutional. I have my doubts about the part that Senator Grassley mentioned with the Medicaid compulsion on the states. That's something I worry about. But the health care mandate, I think, really is, I would have said a no-brainer, but I mustn't with such intelligent brains going the other way. Clearly, insurance is commerce. That was held by the Supreme Court in 1944. There was a time when the Supreme Court didn't think it was commerce, but it has been ever since. And if you look at the mountain of legislation, most noticeably the ERISA legislation, you see that the Congress and the courts obviously think insurance is commerce. And healthcare insurance surely is commerce, insuring as it does something like 18% of the gross national product. Now, if that's so, if healthcare insurance is commerce, then does Congress have the right to regulate healthcare insurance? Of course it does. And my authorities are not recent. They go back to John Marshall, who sat in the Virginia legislature at the time they ratified the Constitution, and who in 1824 in Gibbons v. Ogden said regarding Congress's commerce power, what is this power? It is the power to regulate. That is, to prescribe the rule by which commerce is governed. To my mind, that is the end of the story. The constitutional basis for the mandate. The mandate is a rule, more accurately, part of a system of rules by which commerce is to be governed, to quote Chief Justice Marshall. And if that weren't enough for you, though it is enough for me, you go back to Marshall in 1819 in McCulloch and Maryland, where he said, the powers given to the government imply the ordinary means of execution. The government, which has a right to do an act, surely to regulate health insurance, and has imposed on it the duty of performing that act, must, according to the dictates of reason, be allowed to select the means. And that is the necessary and proper clause. And he ends by saying, let the end be legitimate. That is to say, the regulation of health insurance. Let it be within the scope of the Constitution, ERISA, and all means which are appropriate, which are plainly adapted to that end, which are not prohibited, but consistent with the letter and spirit of the Constitution, are constitutional. Well, that to me is the end of the story. And I think that one thing about Judge Vinson's opinion, where he said, if we strike down the mandate, everything else goes, shows as well as anything could that the mandate is necessary to the accomplishment of the regulation of health insurance. But is it proper? Well, there is, I think, an intellectual confusion here. Something is necessary. This is clearly necessary. It is improper only if it bumps up against some specific prohibition in the Constitution. And the only prohibitions I can think of that this bumps up against are the liberty clauses of the 5th and 14th Amendment. And if that's so, then not only is Obamacare unconstitutional, but then so is Romneycare in Massachusetts. And I think that is an example of an argument that proves too much. Thank you.